Your attention to the Media Center. We are now joined, fresh off of his Talladega victory, Ryan Blaney, driver of the number 12 Menards Dickies Ford for Team Penske. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start with Briar, and we'll go to Steve. Briar.
Hey Ryan, Briar Star with Speedway Media. So with the win last week at Talladega, how much pressure does that take off of you this weekend? That way you're not in a must-win situation.
No, it takes all the pressure off. I mean, going into Talladega after Dover, we were kind of in a must-win situation. I felt like how far behind we were. We either had to win Talladega or Kansas, and winning Talladega last week definitely takes pressure off this week. And you're just not biting your nails about points. You're just going to try to win the race and getting bonus points for the next round. So that's really the goal this weekend. That's kind of where our mindset is. But it was a huge weekend for us last week.
We'll go to Steve, and then we're going to go to Jonathan.
Steve Conley, PRN. Ryan, back in the spring, you finished 32nd, and you said after that race, the car, you were just off. Did you guys figure out what the problem was, and how confident are you, especially after the win last week, of this race?
Yeah, I mean, you hope you figure out the problem, right? I mean, I think we did. I think we pinpointed down kind of where we missed it, and the thing is, I thought we were decent in practice, and then we got in the race and we were way off. And so you think back on that and figure out, what you did in practice and how your car felt in practice and what you changed during the race, and okay, that's maybe not the direction you need to go. So it was good to sit down this week and talk about review Kansas, the first Kansas, and figure out what we did wrong and try what we can do better to fix it. But yeah, that was a weird, that was just an off race for us. We usually come here and run really, really well. So that was disappointing in the first race, but hopefully we got it pinpointed down to what went wrong and figure out how to run better here this weekend.
Jonathan?
Hey Ryan, just being that you're locked in to the next round already, is this a weekend to try some stuff for Texas and Homestead, or what's sort of the approach to that?
Maybe one or two things, in practice. We don't get a lot of practice. I mean, we only have 2 today. That's about it. So, or that is it. And they're not very long either. This is the way kind of the practices are nowadays. Maybe you mock up a couple things at the race shop. Maybe you try if you get decent in practice, or maybe if you're way off, you kind of try some stuff. But not a ton of things we're trying. You kind of want to just work on what you guys know and see where your speed's at. And I feel like if you think your speed is competitive in practice, and if you have time, maybe you try something else. But it's not like we're not really on a science project this weekend. You just try to still be really competitive, but you might try a couple different things just a different way, but there's no science parts and pieces that we're throwing on it this weekend.
Come up front.
2 of your 3 career wins have came in the postseason, either in elimination races or like last week for you was a must win. What's the secret? How do you have so much success kind of maybe when the pressure's amplified?
I mean, I'd like to have success in the regular season, that's kind of the biggest thing. You want to collect wins through the regular season and not wait till the playoffs. And you don't want to be a person who just wins one race a year. You could win no races a year, but you want to be able to consistently be in victory lane. And that's kind of the, thing I look at. Yeah, it's great. We did a good job of surviving last week and putting ourselves in a spot to capitalize on it. But I don't know. I think this team does great, and it's I think it's where we should be running and be competitive for wins every single week throughout the year. It's just it's a shame. It's not a shame, but I'd like to get a couple wins throughout the regular season and then continue that on to the playoffs. Not wait till playoff time. It's not like that's my plan. Wait till playoff time to get win. You want to do that all year, but I think this team rises to the occasion really well. And even though if you're down, after our bad race at Dover, after having that problem, we weren't defeated. We weren't anything like that. We know what we had to do. And like I said, kept ourselves in the game last week at Talladega. That's a big wild card race, but we were able to miss some big ones there and then kind of control the race and then lose the lead and get it back. And I think that just, speaks about this team and their perseverance with everything.
We'll go to Nate, then the Jeff, and then the Brent, and then the Steve.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. I got a couple, Ryan. Looking at the third round, Martinsville, Texas, Phoenix, is there any one of those that you say that's one I can win, or do you feel like you can just top 5 your way through and maybe get through on points?
Yeah, honestly, I think the round 8 is really good for us. It's probably our best group of tracks. And I think, kind of in the spot we're in, with not having a ton of the bonus points that maybe, some of the Gibbs guys have, or the 4-car, I think it's going to take a win in our spot to get into Homestead. And I look at Martinsville. We've run really good there the last couple of years and run 4th earlier this year and led some laps. We were leading at Texas when we blew up and had a really strong car, and we led a bunch of laps at Phoenix and ran 3rd. So I think it'll take to win one of those places just in the spot we're in. I think the guys that have a ton of bonus points, they can just consistently run well and be able to have a shot at it. But in our spot, I think we can go out and win any one of those 3 races. Those tracks have been really strong for us. Just a matter of kind of finding that little bit at the end to really set yourself apart from everybody else. But I do like the 3 tracks that are coming up. They seem to be really good for us this year.
And you and Joey had some problems, obviously, at Dover, and it looked like Brad had a little bit of mechanical thing at Dega. Are you guys? Is there any concern at Penske over why this sort of rash of mechanical stuff?
No. The thing that Brad or Joey and I had at Dover were separate issues. The thing I had was kind of a freak thing you never see. Hubs burn up anymore, especially a place where you don't use any brake. You're barely using brake at Dover. So that was just a weird thing that went on. It was nothing special with that left front hub. It just sometimes luck of the draw. But I don't know what what happened to him last week. I'm not sure what that was, but I don't know if it's a fuel pickup issue or something like that. But there's really no concerns on my side on resilience of our parts and pieces, things like that.
Hey, Jeff Gluck from The Athletic. So you win a big race. What does that do to the next week? Like this week, are you like driving to the store and you find yourself like whistling out of happiness or something? Or like, how does this affect your whole mood and everything you do after a big win?
I don't know. I mean, there'd be, I don't know. I've never been in a spot like that before, to where you win a race here in the playoffs that you don't have any other pressure the next week. So that was a nice feeling. When we won Roval last year, it was into the next round, or the new round was the following week. So you didn't have any time to really have any pressure off of you. So there was, a lot of late nights and headache mornings for sure this past week. But definitely a good time to celebrate. But then you got to, you focus on the task at hand now. And we're not just showing up here at Kansas to fart around. We're coming to try to win this race too. But it's nice not having that pressure. You just focus on the win, and maybe you take a little bit more chances than you would, especially here where you see a lot of no tires, 2 tires, things like that. As far as I saw, if we would have ran second last week, we'd be like 7 out, and then you'd have to be really, really, worried about that stuff. But no, I wasn't whistling or anything like that in stores. Just a good week with everyone's teams and families, and but then it's hard at work come towards the end of the week.
We'll go to Brett, then to Tyler, and we'll finish off with Steven.
Brett Lamb, SpeedwayDigest.com. Last week, there were a couple of teams that had issues with their hood flaps, and I was just wondering, have you all been in discussion with NASCAR to fix that going forward with the next car?
Yeah, I personally have not been in those discussions. I'm sure the teams have, kind of the shop foreman and things like that. Yeah, the reason I thought we saw a lot of hood flap problems is those things aren't really made to take a beating. All the hoods are made out of carbon fiber. They're pretty lightweight. It comes from the manufacturers, and there's just little tiny tethers and really lightweight braces those things are bolted and mounted onto. And when you get in that turbulent air right behind a car like we do now, and you're pushing a lot, those things haven't gone through that stress before. And that's kind of the first time you're seeing that stress put on them. And so they just, flapping so hard, they're going to eventually break. It's a super tiny, lightweight aluminum bracket those things are bolted onto. So, it didn't really surprise me of how many of them kind of came off. I was surprised one of mine didn't come off, because you're pushing and you're seeing the thing flapping like crazy and you don't know how it's hanging on. But I'm sure that they took that into consideration with maybe they make a minimum thickness of aluminum bracket the thing is mounted onto to maybe have a little bit more toughness to it. But I haven't been a part of those, but I'm sure they're looking at it.
Tyler.
Ryan, looking ahead to next season with Matt DiBenedetto taking over that 21, have you told him anything about that, any words of advice or just anything about that ride? And then also, what are you looking forward to about having him within that Penske and Wood Brothers camp?
No, I think it's great for Matt, and I heard that news, however many weeks ago it was. I was really happy for him. I've always liked Matt. I think he's a great race car driver. He's shown that this year for sure. He's had some great runs. Happy for Paul to finish out a year pretty strong. Hopefully get those guys their 100th win by the end of this deal. And he's had a good career and become a good friend of mine. And so I hate to see him go, but I'm excited for his next chapter in his life. I know he is too, but I think Matt's going to do a great job. Really, the only thing I told him was they're a lot of fun. I mean, have fun. I mean, that's I look back and that was some of the funnest times I ever had at the racetrack was with the Wood brothers and getting to see Eddie and Len almost every day, every single weekend. And when Leonard makes it out, which is most of them, it always brightens your day. And I still see those guys all the time, just maybe not as often and every day of the weekend like I used to. But I try to seek him out as much as I can. But I think it's a great fit for him. I know that that car is capable of winning races, and I think Matt is capable of winning races too. So I think that's going to be a really good opportunity for him. And I know we're really excited to have him there and have another, another person who is, he's not really new in the sport. He's been around NASCAR for a long time, but someone who is who really wants to learn a lot on it and really get his kind of take. And maybe even take things away of what they were doing over, at the 95 car. They run really great. And there's always kind of those opportunities you can have, just some more insight of someone who's had kind of different equipment, different car builds, different engines, just kind of seeing and comparing. That experience is really helpful to our team.
Steve?
Ryan, we saw what a trip to Homestead would mean last year at Martinsville between Joey and Martin. Do you expect that we're going to see something similar to that? Especially if you're in that position? And if you were in Martin's position, how do you defend that?
Martin? If I was, I can't really speak on things that I wasn't a part of. That's what was between those two guys. It's hard to put yourself in hypothetical situations like that. I don't sit around and think about, if I was in Joey's spot, if I was in Martin's spot, what would I do? How would I respond? Just, I think that stuff happens, and then you react to it the way you should react to it in whatever, mindset you're in at that time. So it's kind of hard for me to really think about that stuff. I mean, obviously Martinsville is it's the first race of the round of 8, and it's your ticket right to Homestead. So you're going to have guys being really aggressive out there. I mean, just imagine next year that race being the final race before Phoenix, for the championship race. So that's going to be even more crazy, that race. So just a good opportunity on a short track to be really aggressive and things like that. But it's going to be really hard racing like it always is at Martinsville, but it definitely ramps up at that playoff race and your ticket to Homestead, because that's second best race to win. Get you right to Miami, and you can worry about your Miami car for 2 weeks straight, not have to worry about bonus points or things like that. No, that's a good spot. And, you see what it did for Joey last year. I mean, they were able to really focus on that car, and they went out and did the deal. So,
Well, Ryan, thanks for taking the time to join us, and good luck.